window down, yelling out money, anything. Ayy, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back. Ayy, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast. Ayy, ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss. Ayy.
Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I want to let you know it's brought to you by the National Motor Freight Traffic Association. Do you ship LTL freight? Then you need to be ready for July 19th. Major changes are coming to the NMFC, classification shifts, density-based reclassifications, and more. Don't get blindsided. Visit nmfcchanges.com to get prepared with official resources from the NMFTA. Not sure if your NMFC numbers are affected? Use the NMFC item lookup tool at getclassification.com. Just enter a single item or upload hundreds and instantly see if your items are being reclassified or renumbered. It's time to get it together. These NMFC changes will impact how you quote, route, and bill your LTL freight. Visit nmfcchanges.com now for tools built specifically for 3PLs and shippers just like you. Stay ahead. Don't let July 19th catch you off guard. This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm really excited to talk to my guest today. Efficiencies, compliance, driver safety, all of this stuff is it's changing so much now, especially with technology, where it's going. But then most importantly, as a business owner, I want to make sure that my business is protected at all costs. At the end of the day, it is the greatest investment that I have personally made. And I know there's a ton of other entrepreneurs out there who are in that exact same boat. And when it comes down to it, you guys, safety is everything. And with the climate that's out there in the transportation industry right now, you need to prove that you are compliant, that you did not make that mistake. It's one of those things that I feel like we can never talk like enough about at the end of the day. So I have my friends over at Drivewyze back on the show today. I have Brenda Colombus, who is the product manager, to join me to break all this down. Brenda, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate it. And, it's one of those things where when it comes down to it, I feel like safety is always of top of mind for everybody. But making sure that your business is protected in today's climate, as I was kind of saying in the intro there, I think is ever important. Like, you need to take additional steps now to prove, it's almost like in the driver community. Again, this is Chris Jolly's words only. They're guilty until proven innocent. And they need to make sure that all of that stuff is up to date. So before we kind of break down anything further than that, how did you get your start at Drivewyze, Brenda? What brought you into this?
Oh gosh, I've been working in technology fields for 15, 20 years now, developing different kinds of technology solutions. In a previous life, we were working on some simulator activity to teach drivers how to operate commercial motor vehicles, which was super cool.
Mhm.
But it kind of got me interested in the industry. So I had an opportunity to join the product team here at Drivewyze, who's just so we're making a difference. They're the things that we're focused on are exclusively for commercial motor vehicles, and it's really focused on safety and getting people home safely at the end of the day. And it means a lot to me. I have family that drive trucks, so
Yeah.
it's personal.
No, I love it, and
Yeah.
it's one of those where I feel like with kind of where things are right now in the industry, there's a lot of additional steps that are being taken out there, and there's a lot of really smart people making the road safer at the end of the day, and and there's a lot of great stuff. And you guys recently, went and put some studies out there as well behind a lot of this. So kind of talk to me about that because you guys are. It was out there about your in-cab alerts and
Yeah, for
everything
sure.
that are coming along. And you guys went above and beyond based on what I can see here. Just a little known university called Purdue out of this great state of Indiana. That
Yeah.
was a big part of this. So, kind of, what was the leading factor behind going out there and putting a white paper together for all of this?
For sure. So we launched our in-cab alerting services probably 3, 4 years ago, and it's really started to gain some momentum over the last couple. And about 18 months ago or so, we started collecting some data that we've been able to provide back to the agencies that help sponsor these alerts, who in turn shared that data with some academic institutions, just to do a bit of a deeper dive to try and understand whether or not these alerts are making an impact. A couple of universities that have been involved include Purdue and Cleveland State University. And Purdue really got the ball rolling. And they
Mhm.
started by taking a look at the braking behavior. So we would collect and anonymize and aggregate all of the braking behavior that we were getting back from the trucks to understand what they're doing after they get an alert. And they were able to determine that trucks are indeed slowing down when they get an alert. And the interesting thing is when we send, say, a traffic slowdown or a congestion alert to the electronic logging device in the truck, we're sending that message 2 or 3 miles before the incident is actually happening. So it's probably you probably can't even see it. Traffic could be moving perfectly normally around the truck. But what we're seeing is a little blip in speed. So it's almost like the alert pops up on the electronic logging device. You can imagine the driver gets the alert, kind of takes their foot off the gas, just take a quick look around. Well, I don't see anything. Quickly comes back up to flow speed. But they're prepared. They kind of have that little extra heads up that there's something coming up on the road ahead. And as a result of that, we're seeing that drivers have less need to brake sharply 2 or 3 miles down the road when they actually encounter the slowdown. So it just makes it safer for the driver. You're not having to slam on your brakes. You're a little bit more awareness of what's coming up. That little extra heads up that there's something going on the road ahead before you can even see it.
No,
Um,
I think I was gonna say, I think that's crucial, right? In when you're going out there, because I noticed we were out in Los Angeles this past weekend, and Google Maps actually had, hey, potential slowdown, alert came over the speaker in our car, and
yeah,
I'm like, and it's just funny that you're bringing this up and we're talking about this right now because I'm like. Same thing. Looked up around. I'm like, I didn't see anything. Traffic was driving as crazy as normal LA
mhm,
traffic was going. But again, up around the bend, boom, there it was.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it is just that. And then I feel like, you're almost reprogramming your brain at that moment where you're on an even higher alert at that time because you are starting to scan multiple lanes at that point and you're trying to see, hey, are there any brake lights ahead that are
yeah,
now 800 feet or whatever,
yeah.
hypothetical example you're out there. And then the drivers are going to have a better reaction time that comes along with it.
That's the whole point. Imagine those brake lights are around a curve. You can't even see them.
Yeah.
So it's just there's something going on the road ahead. Be extra careful. Think of work zones too. I mean, trucks are big. They're heavy. It takes a long time to slow down a truck that's traveling at freeway speed. If you're going to encounter a work zone, and as a truck driver, you get the same notification as all the passenger vehicles around you with some roadside signage or something like that, you've already got the passenger vehicles trying to jockey for position and change lanes, and you need more time, you need more space. So if we can give drivers in the commercial motor vehicles that information sooner, 2 or 3 miles upstream before everybody else, you can start preparing so that you're in a better spot when you actually get to the event.
So, I mean, I look at this, even further downstream on stuff, because being a broker for as long as I have inside of transportation, we are, I've had shipments that have been rejected due to, it was clear that there was, last minute braking that was in their pallet shift. There's damage to the product, loads rejected and everything. So not only does this improve roadway safety out there, which I feel like ultimately is the main goal of a lot of
Yeah,
this, right?
absolutely.
But I also look at the downstream effects of this as well, because if this gives you more of a reaction time, you're not going to be slamming on your brakes that's out there. You're not going to have any of the product potentially. Let me put that in there,
Yeah.
you guys, because I'm not going to say all the time, but potentially you're going to reduce the after effects of that, of load shifting, causing any additional damages to that could lead to, an insurance claim, load rejection, lost time, lost revenue, and everything with that, right? So again, it's the overall assessment that I think stands out the most to me here.
Yeah, absolutely. Think of the savings that you get too as a driver from avoiding the impacts of congestion. So if you have they say there's a crash ahead of you, that affects you. That affects your productivity. You idle. You spend time on gas. Like there's so many costs associated for the driver with congestion and incidents in traffic. The more that we can prevent that, the better off we're going to be. There was a second study that was headed by a research team at Cleveland State University. They took a different angle. They kind of looked at the economics of these in-cab safety alerts, and they looked at data specific to Ohio, and they were able to identify a 29% reduction in secondary crashes after Ohio had implemented traffic slowdown alerts in their state. So just eliminating all of those secondary crashes, that's millions of dollars of savings.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly it. It's funny you brought that up. I was literally at that point next to kind of talk about that. Is that, I mean, 29%, like that's no joke, right? And I think I follow, and I've had these guys on my show as well, as they post a lot of these crash videos out there on social media, and you're seeing that. And it's like you see the main crash, but it's like how many other crashes are avoided now after the fact. I mean, 30%, like that's no joke. And that's just, what was it, just in the state of Ohio that we're talking about there?
Yeah, it was like a $14 million in savings they had identified in Ohio as a result of the reduction of these secondary crashes.
It's insane. And I think the number that stood out to me the most in this study was 89% of the drivers found the alerts effective, and they're accepting this, right? Like they see the benefit of that. Cause ultimately that's like the big thing. And this isn't anything against, like Drivewyze or anything, but a lot of the technology and the products that are out there are mainly geared towards like office staff, right? And it does not necessarily take in the end user effect. And, as freight brokers, there's a lot of great technology for freight brokers, but does it make the driver's lives better out there? And more times than not, from what I've seen, it doesn't, right? But with this having that acceptance out there, 89% of the drivers see the value in this. That's massive right there.
Yeah, we were super excited to see that. The Cleveland State team did something really interesting as part of their study. They actually deployed grad students out to, I think it was 15 rest areas around Ohio, and they interviewed over 600 drivers to understand what kind of alerting services they were using, Drivewyze or other, what kind of alerts they were getting, how they valued them, which ones they found to be the most valuable. And of all of the drivers they interviewed, of the drivers that had received a congestion or a traffic slowdown alert, 89% felt that they were valuable, which was heartwarming for us, because we've always felt that we're doing the right thing. But to have that validation that drivers are seeing value in those in-cab alerts. They may not be perfect every single time, but I think they do far, far more good than anything else.
No, I would agree with that, right? And I think like that's where, things are really transitioning to, because I think like, if you see smart vehicles out there, and again, being out in LA like it was this weekend, and we have a big thing here in Phoenix as well, as like a lot of driverless cars that are going along, and it's now, but it's like it's transitioned into the semi space here as well. So it's like, how are trucks getting smarter these days? And do you think that this technology is going to surpass where vehicles are at?
I mean, autonomous vehicles are a thing, right? We've been in the Waymos in Phoenix. They're so cool, and trucks have the same capability. We'll need to modify how we deliver those kind of warnings about queues and congestion and work zones, because there's no someday there's going to be no driver, no safety driver to actually see those alerts pop up on an electronic logging device. But that's just a technical problem. That's just a different way of delivering the same information. Knowing that we have that information and getting into the trucks is the critical part. And right now, the best way we can do that is through their electronic logging devices. They're always on, they're required, they have to be there. So you can get these alerts for free. You just have to turn the service on. So we're hoping that we can get as many drivers as possible to enable that service and just share the information that's out there for them.
Do you think ELDs are going to continue to expand in like their purpose, right? Because there's a lot of technology that is kind of like connected in through an ELD. And I mean, I know that there's a large portion of the driver community who are like against ELDs, but I hate to be the bearer of bad news that they're not going anywhere. There has to be a severe lobbying effort in DC to I think to change that. But I also look at it as how has this benefited the driver community? And do you think that this device inside of a cab is going to expand out and kind of be that one-stop shop for all things operationally?
Well, they started to manage hours of service and they've expanded from there. So now you're using it for your navigation app. You're potentially getting safety alerts on it. There's all sorts of things. It could be the hub that sends maintenance information back to a fleet manager. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Chris. They're not going anywhere anytime soon, and they are the bridge between where we are today and that truly autonomous vehicle. It's an interface that can be quite practical. Certainly realize we have to be respectful of the drivers. They don't want to be over alerted. They don't want inaccurate information. They don't want useless information. So we try to be really careful about how we curate the types of alerts that we send to the electronic logging devices so that we make sure that they're as real time and as accurate and as valuable as possible. So we're always seeking feedback from our driver community to make sure that we're on the right track on that front.
So what do these alerts look like, right? Because again, I'm trying to picture myself in the cab of a truck. Traffic is, there's a lot of things that are out there. And this is why I would challenge, if you've never done a ride along with the driver at all. I was very fortunate to have a father who's an owner op. I've sat in that numerous times growing up. I think people need to experience that, especially the broker community. You need to get out there and experience what some of these drivers go through on a day-to-day. And what does this experience look like from a driver's seat, right there? If we're talking about these safety alerts and everything, how do they sound in the sense of like, is it a one-time thing? Is it a, kind of like when you're backing up a vehicle now, you get the multiple alerts of the beep, 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 beep. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we try to be as unintrusive as possible. So we'll work with the ELD manufacturers, or we do work with the ELD manufacturers to embed our software onto the devices, and they just run quietly in the background. So it doesn't need to be taking up any of your screen space as you're driving. The software just runs quietly. When you encounter one of the geofences that triggers our alerts, it'll just pop up as a full screen alert. It looks like a road sign. So it's typically a yellow background with white or black iconography. So a simple icon similar to what you'd see on a roadside sign that indicates that there's a work zone or a lane closed or a steep grade ahead. And it's just very minimal text, like 2 lines, 25 characters a piece. So it's intended to be very low distraction. Pops up full screen on your device. It'll come with just a single chime. What the chime sounds like depends on the hardware that you're using for your electronic logging device. It'll stay on the screen for typically about 10 seconds, and then it'll automatically fade away. So you never even have to touch the screen if you don't want to. It can be completely hands-free. If you're using your ELD device, say for navigation or some other purpose at the time the alert pops up, you just have to touch the screen and it immediately clears and you go back to wherever you were.
Okay. Where is all this data coming from? Is this like when you're talking about geofences and everything, I know what geofences are, but how is it like, are you guys integrated? And again, if any of this is proprietary, say next question, but is this one of those things that you guys are connected in with like local municipalities that are out there? If there's any police responder notifying of an accident, and that's kind of how that works. What does that look like?
Yeah, we get information from a whole bunch of different places actually. Lots of trusted partners that tell us about important things that are going on the road, hopefully in real time. So we in turn use our geofencing technology to place the virtual fences that trigger these signs. But ultimately, sometimes it's our fleet partners who tell us about problematic locations. So if they have a driver that encounters a low bridge, they'll make sure we know about it so that we can prevent another driver from having the same problem. We'll also ingest feeds that tell us about traffic flow and incidents that may impact traffic. So that can be real-time information that's coming from probes and cameras and all sorts of different places. We'll automatically ingest that information and dynamically place geofences and move those geofences around as the event changes. So you think of a congestion event or a traffic queue that's starting to build. The end of that queue moves over time, and we constantly pick up the updates for that so that we can move our geofence to kind of stay that 2 or 3 miles upstream of it, so that we're making sure that we always give drivers the best information as possible. We also get information directly from agencies, so state level DOTs, turnpike authorities, law enforcement partners. These folks have a front row seat to what's going on in traffic in their jurisdictions. So they can be a really rich source of accurate information. So things like lane restrictions, lane closures, weight restrictions, seasonal events, seasonal requirements like tire chain up laws, that sort of stuff. They can also tell us when there's an incident. So when there's a big crash that's going to close an interstate for a few hours, they can let us know, and we'll throw up some geofences that will let drivers know before they get to the next possible exit, so that they have a chance to avoid getting stuck in a queue, and they can change their route if they need to.
Do you think that this is going to evolve into with like real-time weather alerts and stuff? Because I heard you bring chains up there, and it's obviously it's summertime storms that are out there, tornadoes, stuff like that. Do you think that this is going to evolve where it's going to be like real-time monitoring that's going on, where it's like, hey, there's a blizzard warning in the area or something along those lines to get drivers to pull off the road, at an earlier time? Because like unfortunately, I've had drivers get stuck in I-80 over the winter, freak snowstorms, stuff like that that come out. But do you think that technology is evolving to the point where it's like, hey, there's a high probability or this is going to happen, get off the road now style alert when it comes down to like weathers and stuff?
For sure. So with regards to weather, we handle it in a couple of different ways now. A lot of times we'll know that there's a closure coming or a restriction coming. Maybe it's an empty trailer ban or a tandem ban, something like that. We'll know that that's coming a couple hours in advance, and we can start letting drivers know while they still have time to make some alternate arrangements. As part of we have a paid safety service as well called Smart Safety Plus, and we do have some weather alerts that are real time as part of that service as well. So the vast majority of our alerts are available for free, but there is a premium weather service that's also available in Safety Plus. So we're
Okay.
doing some of that already.
No, I love that. It's yeah, it's one of those things where I look at, and I've experienced, not personally, but I've experienced this with some of the freight that's out there, and drivers who were stuck for 24, 48 hours on the side of the road because roads were shut down. And it's like, how many people, and again, it's, if we're talking about saving lives and, helping people become better prepared, these are one of those things that I don't think the normal motoring public think about. Right. And I feel like us as an industry, like that needs to be top of mind, because it's like, again, and I don't talk about natural disasters on this show and stuff like that, but in regards to like kind of what's going on in the state of Texas right now and other areas that these things have happened, how many can be saved if we had more accurate reporting and more accurate data that's going on out there? Because I think like that to me is ultimately, every time I've talked to you guys, it seems like that is at the forefront of your
Yeah,
guys'
for
company's
sure.
mission is it's like, how do we save more lives? How do we make the road safer? How do we keep people more alert on a lot of this stuff? I mean, your guys' study that we were, discussing at the beginning of the show kind of, tells that, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We're spending a lot of attention and time looking at how we can support states during an emergency and even after an emergency. You think about, say, the flooding that's happening in Texas or happened earlier in North Carolina and Tennessee. Major infrastructure is affected. So even once the the main danger has passed, agencies are still trying to protect infrastructure. Things are fragile. Roadbeds are fragile. They need to help trucks understand where it's safe for them to go and where not to go. Because if you're driving a big truck and you're relying solely on Google Maps to tell you what roads are open, there's a chance that you're going to get redirected onto some routes that aren't appropriate for your vehicle.
Mhm.
And you're going to get stuck, or you're going to cause some sort of other problem, because you're not in those roads aren't intended for trucks. So helping agencies get trucks through the aftermath even of those events can be really helpful. Keeps trucks from getting stuck, keeps them from incurring costs when they have to do repairs, saves the driver repairs on their own vehicle.
Do you think like what safety tech where should safety tech be at like the OEM level right now compared to like from your perspective, where should it be compared to where it actually is, right? Like in a perfect world scenario, every truck should be outfitted with something along these lines,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. We do our very best to remove the barriers that we can. So we work with all of the major ELD providers to make sure that our software is available on their devices. So we have the Drivewyze free alerts, which will get you all of the state-sponsored alerts. So things like lane restrictions, road restrictions, slowdowns, queues, work zones, low bridges, all that kind of stuff. You can get that for free. All you have to do is enable the service on your device. We also um, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. We also work with mobile apps as well. So in the
Mhm.
event that you fall outside of the ELD mandate, you can get those exact same alerts on free apps as well. So
Okay.
in the absence of sort of that OEM, everybody gets it automatically. We're doing what we can to make sure that everybody can get it, but they have to turn it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's holding people back from that, right? Like, free's always a great price. I'm just throwing that out there as a
Yeah, for
business owner.
sure.
I love it. It's a great price,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's clearly it hasn't been adopted at the level. So like what is truly holding people back, do you think? Have you guys got any feedback from people are like, hey, this is why I don't like using it? Or, is there anything else that stops fleets from implementing something along these lines inside of their cab?
Yeah, for sure. By far, the largest misconception is that it is a paid service. So we rebranded with the free
Yeah.
name about a year or so ago. But I think there's still a misconception that you need to be a Drivewyze bypass customer, which is not the case. The safety alerts are available to any driver, any fleet for free. They just have to turn them on.
I don't understand why people wouldn't go out there and do that, you guys. You heard it here, you guys. Free. Free is a great tool
Yeah.
for anybody out there. And, again, because it is, you brought up with Google Maps and stuff like that, they do not take into consideration truck routes if there's any road closures or anything else. And you guys have done that, correct? Like, obviously, if there is
Yeah.
any major road closures that are out there, it's going to send them down truck route
Yeah.
only approved roads at that time.
Yeah, we don't necessarily provide routing information. The state level agency or law enforcement may tell us where to direct trucks to, but we won't ever make the call on our own. So if we're getting information, we're getting it straight from authorities that tell us that's where trucks need to go. But there's that same filter doesn't necessarily exist on Waze or Google or Apple Maps right now. I suspect they're looking at that space, but it's not there today.
Mhm.
So I think something that makes it just a little bit different because our alert messaging, the content, the timing, the placement of those geofences is all geared for commercial motor vehicles. We want to give you more advanced notice than passenger vehicles are getting so that you have a little bit of time, a little bit of extra time to navigate around hazards before everyone else is jockeying for the same position.
Mhm. Where does this go from here, right? Like what are some advancements that you think is it going to be even faster alerts? Is it going, like are we going to get to a point where essentially it's as real time as humanly possible
Yeah.
with advancements in technology and everything? Do you think that it's only going to improve safety and be able to from that perspective?
100%. That's the biggest opportunity for improvement through the entire system. The ability to get information about what's happening on the roads into a system faster that we can check faster to get the information to the trucks faster, just to keep it real time and as updated as possible.
hmm And then, like with that being said, do you think that there's any, because obviously there are roadways that are higher traffic volume and a higher propensity to have accidents and stuff like that. And I mean, just based on the study in, Ohio alone, are we just needing more driver adoption out there? And do you think that that's going to lead to again, it's tough to ever say that there's going to be an absolute reduction of anything out there because again, human behavior is always the biggest wild card and everything. And I talk about this on the show a lot, right? The number one thing that data never, I think, ever actually like accurately captures is a human emotion reaction in the heat of the moment out there. A lot of this is perfect world scenario. This show, the majority of these conversations that I have are all perfect world, and it doesn't factor in if I don't close this deal, I lose my home, right? Like that's not factored into a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's a lot of factors. There's driver behavior, there's experience, there's weather, there's road signage. There's so many things at play. But we're doing our part to try and hit that mission zero crashes, zero fatalities is the ultimate goal. We're going to shoot for the stars.
I love it. That's a goal that everybody should have out there in the transportation industry. Brenda, thank you so much for your time today. How does anybody reach out to you guys over at Drivewyze to find out more or connect with you personally?
For sure. Best way to reach us would be through our website, drivewyze.com. Spelling is DRIVEWYZE. Reach out through the website. There's a little contact form there, and you'll be put in touch with a customer service person who can answer any questions you have or reach out directly to me as well, if that's what you'd like to do.
Perfect. Brenda, thank you so much for your time today. If you guys cannot find Drivewyze at all, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with them over there. That will be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. If you're feeling really ambitious after this one, which you should be, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, that's how your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back. Hey, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast.